The US military is exploring a capability that sounds like something straight out of the massively popular sci-fi video game Helldivers 2, where players drop in a battle and call in supplies from orbit in the name of liberty. And while the US military probably won't be battling aliens on distant worlds anytime soon, at least not publicly, the Air Force and Space Force are spending millions of dollars researching a concept called rocket cargo. This is where we would shoot a capsule full of troops or supplies into orbit and land it anywhere on Earth in 90 minutes or less, which is way faster than anything we have now. Since the 1960s, the US has maintained hundreds of ground-launched intercontinental ballistic missiles that can launch out of some field in Wyoming or North Dakota, leave the atmosphere, then come back and hit basically anywhere on Earth in 30 minutes. So you can put a nuke anywhere on Earth, why not a pallet of ammo, spare parts, humanitarian supplies, or people? The military has been asking that question since at least the 1960s, when it considered blasting Marines off aircraft carriers aboard rocket ships that would land vertically at the drop zone. These rockets would have been about 200 feet tall, so to make things even more interesting, the Marines would have then used jetpacks to get down after landing. I'm sure you'll be surprised to hear that the idea was dropped for being overly ambitious and dangerous, according to the US Naval Institute. But in 2020, US Transportation Command, which is in charge of moving troops and supplies around the world, signed separate research agreements with SpaceX and the consulting firm Exploration Architecture Corporation to study how it would use rockets to move cargo. The head of Transcom at the time, Army General Stephen Lyons, said, "Think about moving 80 short tons, the equivalent of a C-17 payload, anywhere on the globe in less than an hour. We should challenge ourselves to think differently about how we will project the force in the future and how rocket cargo could be part of that." After that, the contracts started coming in hot. Last month, as our friends at the Warzone reported, Inversion Space unveiled a design for a reusable spacecraft called ARK that would be loaded with supplies ahead of time and then launched into orbit, where it could remain for up to 5 years, waiting to be called down in a time of crisis. If it's called down, ARK would then use tiny flaps and thrusters to fly to the target and then deploy a parachute to the final destination. The size of these cargo drops could vary. Inversion says ARK could hold about 500 pounds. That sounds small, but the Navy has said in the past that when ships at sea have logistics problems, 90% of the time they can be solved with a component that weighs 50 pounds or less. 500 pounds doesn't sound like a lot, but it actually is a lot of beans, bullets, and Band-Aid.